It's not a permanent fix. You see, I mistakenly thought that a hair transplant was a one-off thing, right? You pay your money, you get it transplanted from the back into the front or at the crown, you're done. Your hair grows back after a 6 months sort of recovery process, 6 months to a year, and that's it. But no. You see, guys who often go for one hair transplant and I'm getting a second and a third. And even when you're 60, it's going to have gone again. It's going to be left with a strange look. And a lot of guys end up at that stage just shaving your head off anyway.
Did I need a hair transplant? And an eyebrow transplant? Probably not. Did I go to Turkey by myself and get one? Did I expect to get this bruised? Not really.
I had a hair transplant. That was the dumbest thing I've ever done. I have this giant scar on the back of my head. It looks like a smile. I just was scared that I was going bald. I was like, what can you do? And they tell you they can fix it. They're like, oh, great, I'll just get it fixed. But it doesn't really fix it.
What I think about a hair transplant, this is what I've always thought. They kind of put the hair follicles in the front. My question is, what happens in 5 years when you've just got this line of fresh hair at the front, but the back is now...
My hairdresser, Wade, no, he told me this. That will absolutely happen. So you obviously get the hair transplant at the front to fill in like your gaps, but especially for men, their hair will continue to recede. So in like, I know hair transplants are really popular at the moment. I think in the next 10 years, there's going to be a bunch of guys walking around with hair at the front and none at the back.
Do not make this dangerous mistake with a hair transplant. This is what happens when you don't treat hair loss and just get a surgery instead.
Because I didn't knew what the hair plantation looks like. I just trusted the doctor, whatever he recommended me. I said, okay, you guys know better. So and I just got my surgery done. Just a day to have this done, maybe a few hours. Yeah, so the results are in front of you, but the hairline doesn't look natural. Just after a few years now, I have more hair loss and wanted to get it repaired and fixed.
So nobody warned me about all the gray hairs that you may see post-transplant. I am officially 2 months post-op, and the amount of gray hairs that were popping up, I had to research it because I said, I know I'm getting up there, but there is no way that I have this much gray hair. And apparently it's a thing post-transplant that the stress and shock to the follicles can cause the hairs to come back in gray. It causes a temporary disruption in the pigment of the follicles.
One thing you need to know is that you need to be prepared for the hurt, for the pain and the itch that comes in your abdominal area post your hair transplant. You need to be like, if you think it's easy breezy, it's not. The pain and the itch at the back, it's just, I don't even know what to explain. It's like a burning sensation. It burns and it's hot, like your head is just hot. Send help.
Day 7 evening. Thank you so much for your comment. No, painkillers do not help. They don't help at all. I've taken ibuprofen today because yesterday I bought the pain thinking that, it was going to go away, but today I just couldn't. So I've taken ibuprofen about 3 or 4 times and they don't help. But I heard about aloe vera because I contacted the clinic and asked them what to do, and they told me to use aloe vera gel. So I put that in the fridge. Actually, at a point today, I put it in the freezer. I was that desperate, and I masked my head. Like I masked my head like my life depended on it, because it's excruciating. That's the best description. It's like nothing I have ever experienced before, and trust me, I have a very high pain threshold, very high. But this is just terrible. So yeah, I use aloe vera gel and that seems to soothe it, but only for a few minutes, and then I have to mask some more again.
Yeah, I gotta keep it real with y'all. Since the procedure, the worst part of this whole thing has been sleeping. I have not gotten more than 4 hours of sleep at night, maybe 5. Cause I'll sleep, you gotta sleep with a neck pillow, and you gotta sleep like just with your head kind of up a little bit, which is uncomfortable for me. And so I'll wake up at like 4 a.m. and every day I've been up since 4 a.m. That's been the most annoying part, because I can't let anywhere where there's grafts, fresh grafts, touch anything, any pillows, any, bed frame, anything.
About 6 weeks post hair transplant surgery with Hair Neva, and I've entered the shock loss stage, which is, I will be fully honest, it's a bit depressing. My worst fear is coming true, at least right now. The sad part is I could see what my hair was going to look like post-surgery, and I was super excited. It was growing in and it was doing very, very well. And then it appeared like all at once it started to fall out. Now, falling out is not a bad thing. I was told to prepare for that. It's all part of the process. I was told it would take a little bit of a psychological toll. And in my head, I was like, oh, it's not that bad. It's not going to be that bad. It's that bad. I will be completely honest, it's that bad.
This is my story about my hair transplant going wrong. Last year, I had my hairline done at a London clinic. They claimed to implant 2,500 grafts, but I believe it was closer to 1,500 grafts, and even those didn't grow well.
So you're anti-hair transplant, would you say?
100%.
Why?
It looks terrible, and it's just fake. Just work with what you got.
There'll be young guys watching this who are like, okay, if we accept being bald, good for you, but I want to attract a mate, I want to find a wife, and I'm worried they won't like me if I'm bald. What would you say to them?
The balder the better. Shave every day. Regimented. Whether it's baldness or anything else, being confident about what you've got is way sexier than trying to be something else.
No one is watching this video thinking, this guy would be hot if he had hair. He's hot because he's confident.
My hair was shit when I had it.
He had shit hair. He's rocking this look.
I wish I went bald sooner.
Bruised face, swollen eyes, a scar that looks like a smile. A man who didn't survive the surgery. This isn't a horror movie. This is what's actually happening to people getting hair transplants right now, and almost nobody talks about it until it's too late. Today, we are breaking down the real side effects of hair transplants, the pain, the swelling, the allergic reactions, the regret, straight from the people who actually went through it. Let's start with the biggest myth. Most people think a hair transplant is a one and done deal. Pay once, done forever. And that's not how it works. Here's the thing nobody explains properly. A transplant only moves hair you already have from the back of your head to the front. It doesn't create new hair. So if you're still losing hair naturally, your transplant area can be surrounded by bald patches a few years later, leaving a strange, patchy look that a lot of guys end up shaving off anyway. And this is becoming such a common outcome that hairstylists are predicting it as a trend over the next decade. Front hair, no back hair. And that's the long-term risk nobody puts in the brochure. Also, there are two main transplant methods, FUE and FUT. FUT involves cutting out a strip of scalp, which can leave a permanent linear scar across the back of your head. One man getting a repair procedure said it plainly. His hairline didn't look natural after a few years, and now he's dealing with more hair loss on top of trying to fix the first surgery. And that's the cycle a lot of people fall into. Fix, regret, repair, repeat. Now, let's watch a few more clips, and please stick around till the end because the last story might change your mind completely. Let's watch.
Hair transplant might not be as safe as you think. So a British man that traveled to Turkey has died during the process. It is unclear the cause of the death. According to the clinic, Lachman had passed all pre-surgery tests, including blood work, chest x-ray and ECG, and he was cleared for the surgery. Turkish authorities have launched an investigation, and the clinic stated that it had provided full medical documentation to officials.
In my early 20s, I got a hair transplant, which I immediately regretted for a few different reasons. One of them, it cost a ton of money to get it. Two, as you can see, it left this linear scar on the back of my head. That was because I got the FUT procedure. But also, my hair continued to fall out, even though I was taking Propecia and other supplements. My hair loss was just so significant that it just continued to come out. My only options were to get a second hair transplant, maybe even a third, to maintain my hair. And I just decided it wasn't worth it. And ultimately decided to shave my head, which I was so much happier doing.
So I thought I should bring an update because I posted my first video about my hair transplant some hours ago. I have about 100 views. No one has asked this question, but I just feel like if I was the one watching the video, I'll be wondering, wait, why is her head so big? Why is her head and her face so swollen? Now, it's a side effect of the whole entire process of hair transplant, particularly because they injected local anesthesia into my head. Now, I haven't Googled this. I'm not a medical personnel, but based on my experience, what I understand local anesthesia to be is when they inject anesthesia, which is something that numbs pain. They inject anesthesia into different parts of, into the part that they're going to perform surgery on or a procedure on so that you don't feel pain. So they injected all these needles, which was extremely painful, excruciatingly painful. Nobody in all my research said anything about the pain that comes with hair transplant. That injection is painful. Now, when I heard about local anesthesia, I thought it was just going to be one injection, but they put different injections, at least 10 or 15 injections at different points of my head. And what was strange was I could still feel some pains when they're poking in the needles at different points. I could still feel some pain. So the local anesthesia did not actually really work 100%. It worked maybe like 95%. Now, they injected local anesthesia. They also injected a fluid to swell my scalp so as to separate my skull from my scalp, and also to prevent them from poking into nerves. And I'm not a medical personnel, but yeah, to prevent them from poking into nerves and blood vessels and whatnot. So all those fluids that were injected, or that was injected on Thursday, are now looking for where to come out from, hence my face being swollen. To reduce the side effect, which is this swell, I should have limited physical activities between Thursday and today, but that was difficult because I had to get on a plane, I had to pick up my luggage, I had to, do all kinds of necessary things. So it's almost impossible to not engage in physical activities. Then I was also advised to not bend over. But there were times where I forgot and I didn't fully bend over, but I kind of bend a little, and you're not supposed to do that. So now my face is swollen, but it has improved from my previous video, which I'm happy about. This eye is now open. In my previous video, this eye was completely shut.
If you're thinking about getting a hair transplant, and especially if you're going to Turkey, you must watch this video, because I had a few complications that I wish someone would have told me before getting it done, because it would have saved me a world of pain. Anyway, so I'm going to quickly start off with like a bit of an update. It's been 2.5 weeks since I had mine done, and you can see how well it's doing. I'm getting a bit closer. These front bits here were totally bald, my old widow peaks. So these, this is brand new. That's why you can see it's a bit faded, slightly different. Also, you can see where my hairline was. You can see some stray hairs growing through. 80 to 90% of this area, all the new, I've got to fall out soon. So on goes the hat. But anyway, so I just wanted to say that a week after my hair transplant, my mother came over and she said a statement of like, why are you crying? And I noticed that tears just kept coming down from my face. I wasn't emotional, it just happened to me. And if you look at my previous videos, I've had red eyes and I was wiping tears from my face. Then a few days later, my wife said to me, why I've got this red mark at the top of my head, like what's going on? Then one day, all of a sudden, I had the worst blotching ever, and my eyes were so red, and I actually thought I was having measles. Like, why is this thing all over my body? What's happening? Anyway, after a lot of research, we found out that there was something in the Turkish shampoo which caused quite a big allergic reaction. Now, I have never had an allergic reaction from anything in the UK. So there's something that they're putting in that country. I don't know what it is, but what happened was, on the day where all this blotchiness happened, it was the first day I could massage, get all the scabs off and everything. So I put the shampoo on, gave it a good rub in the shower and everything, good old, and then obviously I've washed my hair, and now the water's now dripped down my face, got into my eyes, all over my body. So I'll put some pictures up of what my eyes look like and what the marks looked like, but it wasn't good, and I'm still taking tablets, like a week later. My warning to you is, please, if you're going to Turkey, just do a little test patch on your skin, just see how you react before you keep slapping it all over your head. It didn't even occur to me, but anyway, so that's my advice.
It's been 3 weeks since I got a hair transplant, and there is one thing that stands out to me that by far is the worst side effect of getting a hair transplant. So 21 days, it looks like everything has been kind of healing so far, right? Looks pretty good, to be honest. Starting to look like an old man with this type of haircut. But I'll just get straight to it, right? The itching, and a lot of you guys have been asking me about the itching. And let me tell you, I am starting to feel it. Like the back of my donor area, nonstop, is pretty itchy. It's taken a lot out of me actually not to be itching my head right now as I'm filming this video. But yeah, it is like one of the worst things. I don't really get itchy up here in the transplanted area or the recipient area. It's really all in the donor area. And you know, I'm about to get a haircut pretty soon, so I'll show you guys my donor area. But right now, like, there's definitely some like red bumps and redness that I'm starting to get, but like super, super itchy, and it's completely normal. Obviously, itchiness is just a sign of healing. But I mean, I guess it's kind of helpful for me to tell you guys some of the things that I do. That way, when you do get your hair transplant, maybe it'll help you to relieve some itchiness. So my clinic, you know, they gave me a product. It's called like a repair cream that does kind of help relieve the itchiness. And it has some allantoin in it, I guess is what it's called. And I guess that helps relieve itchiness. So even if your clinic doesn't give you something like that, you can pretty much just, I think like Cetaphil is like one of those hair products that has it, and just kind of rub it on the back, because it does provide that like soothing feel, kind of refreshing feel, and it kind of just stops you from itching like I'm doing right now actually. But sometimes I'll just like rub my head upwards or like stroke it upwards, because that helps relieve itchiness. But you mainly do not want to scratch it, because you're just going to irritate and affect, you know, the healing process. So highly recommend not to do that, and your clinic will probably recommend you not to do that. But yeah, a lot of you guys are commenting, asking me about, you know, the itching, and it's been, like I said, 3 weeks, but the first, I don't know, week and a half to 2 weeks, I wasn't really feeling anything. It was like as if I never got a hair transplant, to be quite honest with you. But now, coming into the third week, I'm really starting to notice the itchiness on the back of my head, and goddamn, let me tell you, this thing is no joke.
This is just over 1 week after the hair transplant, and I'd say it looks pretty good. So that was my last video on my hair transplant, which was around 7 months ago. That was the last update I've done, a week after. You know, I took 7 months off, basically because I was ashamed of my hair. Within the first month, you know, it was looking bright. My hair was growing, you know, I saw progress. I was like, wow, I'm going to have a full set of hair. I'm going to be a model. You know, my mission was to be a model. You know what I mean? Fashion model. Within the second month, it was looking great again. I started seeing more progress. The hair was growing. I was getting more length. I had a hairline. It was looking great. After that, it all just went downhill. My hair just changed color. I don't know how that works. It is the same hair, and then it just changed color. And I put so much effort into this. I put money. I went all the way to Turkey. I put like $3 grand. I'm not satisfied with how it turned out. I don't recommend it, honestly, guys. Just don't do it. Just go bold. I wish I went bold.
Too late for a hair transplant. Well, you're probably right about that now, although I wouldn't want to get one now, even if I could. But that's because I already had a hair transplant back when I was 24. I'd been losing my hair for 2 years. I was really depressed about it. I was really in my head about it, and I decided that a hair transplant was the best option for me. I ended up regretting that decision, and obviously later on I ended up just shaving my head. But the main reason why I regretted that decision was because the root issue that I was trying to resolve was my anxiety about my hair. And even after the hair transplant, I was still constantly worried about my hair. I was worried about how it looked. I was worried that people could tell I got a hair transplant. I felt like the transplanted hair never sat quite the same way as the rest of my hair. And so I was still constantly obsessing about it. And so the root issue of the anxiety never truly went away. And that only went away when I got rid of my hair completely and shaved my head. Now look, everybody's different, and some people might choose to go the hair transplant route and be really happy with it. And that's great. I would just say that if you are going to do that, don't do it from a place of thinking it's your only option. because you do have other options, and you never want to approach a decision from a place of fear. And again, look, I know lots of people out there have gotten hair transplants and been really happy with that decision. But at the same time, every guy I know who's shaved his head has also been really happy with that decision. Just have to consider, on one hand with the hair transplant, the costs, the medication that's going to be required for you to take likely for the rest of your life, or at least as long as you want to keep hair, versus the very low cost of just shaving it all off.
Good morning, happy Wednesday. So I decided to finally blow my hair out by day 76, just so I can see what was going on with the hair, see how everything looked. And my head is so tender. Oh my gosh, it's never been so tender in my whole life. But it's very tender everywhere. The front still feels a little numb in certain places. I had a couple ingrown bumps, like right here and right there. We see that white, but it doesn't hurt. Everything is fine. It just feels tingly and weird at times. Well, tingly, numb. Sometimes I feel like my scalp is just like tingling all over. When I blow dried it out yesterday for the first time, it hurt. It hurt so bad. So I'm hoping that sensation kind of goes away over time.
I wouldn't consider a hair transplant because it never looks good. It looks shit. I don't care what anyone says, you can tell when you've had a hair transplant. You see all the little circles where they've implanted. No one looks good.
And a lot of times they don't work and you have to go again, and it costs so much money. You're still worried about your hair.
Going bald initially was, what the hell? You know what I mean? I'm not going to attract anyone. I'd much rather have a bald head than thinning hair. Thinning hair doesn't look good on anyone.
But a lot of guys are very trepidatious about making that plunge.
In the gay world, I found I was getting lots of attention.
Oh, right.
So even though I was self-conscious to begin with, I started getting a lot of attention.
So you got more attention without hair?
I definitely got more attention without hair.
So if there's a young guy who's losing his hair and he's not sure what to do, what advice would you give him?
Shave it off, be proud of it. If you walk into a room and you feel you're the best looking bloke in there, whether you've got a bald head or not, you will be the best looking bloke in the room.
So I did my hair transplant over 2 years ago. Last March, I believe, was 2 years, and I did it with Longevita. I had two different people working on my head, the doctor and the technician. So if you see this side, is different from this side. I wanted them to come out some more. They gave me some type of bull why they couldn't do it, about vessels or arteries, or I don't know, but I definitely would not recommend Longevita. Again, I am thankful for where I'm coming from, but I just believe that that clinic was not for me. And once you go for an ear trans, don't believe that the doctor is going to only be working on you. They do need a technician, so some of the time there will only be technicians working on your hairline. And remember, bear in mind, they do quite a lot of people per day, so it's gonna all be dependent on what time of day you get your hair transplant.
So this video is the 5 worst things about the hair transplant. So number 5 would probably be not being able to get a full shower for 10 days. You're only allowed body showers for 10 days, and then obviously after 10 days you're allowed a full shower. It feels unreal getting a proper good shower. Number 4 would probably be having to be so careful you don't smack your head. I've actually been really careful and only smacked my head once recently, but see, if you smack your head at the start, you're fucked. Like the follicles would probably come out, and then the hair transplant would be fucked. So yeah. Number 3 would probably be the itching on the head. I didn't get it that bad because I think my head got so swollen after that it was just sweet. But I think number 3 would definitely be the itching. It has been itchy in some parts, like, but at the start you're not really allowed to itch it, and I'm sure people do itch it because it's probably the worst, not just so irritated, like it must just be, you need to itch it, like. So yeah, I'd say that's probably number 3. Number 2 is probably the injections. Some people get the injections really bad, some people don't, but I'd say the injections were 6 out of 10 pain. There was someone beside me actually shouting from the injections, so I'm sure he was it was sore for him, like. And then obviously number one would be the sleeping. See, the first few nights you get no sleep at all, because say if you fall asleep, even with your neck pillow or something, if you're a deep sleeper, you could come out of that neck pillow and end up lying or sleeping on your side, and the follicles could come out, like. So I reckon that's probably the worst part, like. The first few nights you're just so scared about the follicles coming out, you actually don't get any sleep.
I was asked by the British Association of Hair Restoration Surgery if I'd be willing to speak to the media with regards to the botched hair transplant surgery I had at the Merchant City Medical Group, Glasgow. Reason being, the doctor that performed the surgery couldn't be investigated because he's not a member of the British Association of Hair Restoration Surgery. Also, the doctor wasn't involved in the surgery as much as he should have been. The majority of the surgery was performed by technicians. I strongly advise you to do your research if you're thinking about getting a hair transplant. And I strongly recommend that you pick a doctor, a surgeon, that you have a consultation with, you have the surgery with, and also he has to be a member of the British Association of Hair Restoration Surgery. This has had a profound impact in my life and my mental health. And in the not too distant future, I'll be giving a statement to the press. They want a follow-up story of the wonderful doctor and his amazing team that are performing my repair surgery. I've had one surgery done today. It may take 3 to repair the damage that has been done. Thank you.
One person noticed a sudden spike in grey hairs 2 months after their transplant and assumed it was just aging, until they researched it and found it's an actual documented side effect. The stress and shock to the hair follicles during surgery can temporarily disrupt pigment production, so some of the new hair grows back grey before returning to normal. It's temporary for most people, but it's rarely mentioned beforehand. Let's talk pain. Almost every single person in these clips said the same thing. Nobody prepared them for how much the donor area would hurt afterward. One woman described using ibuprofen multiple times a day with zero relief, eventually turning a frozen aloe vera gel just to get a few minutes of relief at a time. She said it was the most intense pain she'd ever experienced, and she described herself as someone with a high pain tolerance. Then there's the sleep problem. After surgery, you have to sleep with your head elevated, usually with the neck pillow, to avoid damaging the fresh grafts. Several people say they couldn't enjoy their sleep every single night for weeks because any pressure on the wrong area could ruin the results. The local anesthesia itself is no joke either. One person described getting 10 to 15 individual injections across the scalp and said even with the anesthesia, they could still feel some pain getting through. Local anesthesia doesn't always block everything at 100%. Shock loss is probably the most underrated side effect, not physical, but mental. Shock loss is when the new transplanted hair grows in, looks great, and then suddenly falls out weeks later. It's a completely normal part of the process, and the hair usually grows back permanently afterwards. But if you don't know it's coming, it can feel like the whole surgery failed. One person said they were warned about it beforehand and still wasn't prepared for how much it affected them mentally. And this is the part clinics mention in passing, but very few people actually emotionally prepare for. Swelling is extremely common, and it's caused by the fluid injected to numb the scalp and separated from the skull during surgery. That fluid has to go somewhere afterward, and it often travels down toward the face over the following days, causing puffiness and even temporarily swollen shut eyes. Then there's the allergic reaction story. Someone broke out in red blotches all over their body after using a shampoo provided by a clinic abroad. After research, they realized an ingredient in the product triggered a reaction they'd never had before in their home country. They are advised, always patch test any product a clinic gives you before applying it to your whole scalp, especially if you're traveling abroad for the procedure. Multiple people flag the itchiness phase as one of the hardest parts of recovery, usually kicking in around the 2nd or 3rd week as the donor area heals. The advice that came up repeatedly: don't scratch it, since that can damage the healing follicles. Instead, people recommended gentle repair creams or just lightly stroking the area instead of scratching. It's not just the itching either. People People described being terrified to even touch their own head for the first couple of weeks, worried that a single scratch could undo the whole procedure. Now, here's where this stops being just uncomfortable and becomes genuinely serious. There have been real, documented cases of people dying after traveling abroad for hair transplants. According to reports, a British man who traveled to Turkey for a transplant died and the exact cause of death was unclear. And this is an extreme, rare outcome, but it's a reminder that this is still a medical surgical procedure, not a quick cosmetic fix, and the risks are real. On a less extreme but still serious note, one person explained they couldn't get their botched surgery investigated because the doctor who performed it wasn't even registered with the relevant Hair Restoration Association, and most of the actual work had been done by technicians, not the doctor. This is incredibly common in low-cost overseas clinics. The doctor you consult with often isn't the person doing your surgery. Now, let's pivot a bit to the repeat cycle, and this brings us back to where we started. Several people explained that one transplant wasn't enough. Their natural hair loss continued around the transplanted area, leaving them needing a second or even third procedure just to maintain the look. Eventually, a lot of them made the same choice, stop fighting it and just shave their head completely. So here's the honest breakdown after going through all of these stories. A hair transplant is not a quick fix. It's a real surgery with real recovery time, real pain, and real risk. The physical side effects, the swelling, the itching, the burning pain in the donor area, the shock loss, even the gray hair. These are common enough that you should expect at least some of them, not be blindsided by them. The bigger pattern though is the emotional one. Multiple people in this video said the same thing in different words. They didn't actually fix their hair anxiety by getting a transplant. They just moved the anxiety somewhere else, worrying if it looked natural, worrying about the next round of hair loss, worrying if people could tell. The people who said they felt genuinely at peace weren't necessarily the ones with a full head of transplanted hair. They were the ones who at some point stopped trying to fight it, whether through a successful transplant they were happy with or by shaving their head completely and owning it. And that's really the core lesson here. If you're considering a transplant, do it because you've researched it thoroughly. You've picked a doctor who's actually going to perform your surgery, not just consult with you, and you understand it's likely an ongoing process, not a one-time fix. Don't do it purely out of fear or panic about losing your hair, because that fear doesn't disappear just because you have a procedure done. And if you're going abroad for a cheaper option, do your homework. Check if the clinic is reputable. Check if the doctor is registered with a recognized Hair Restoration Association. Patch test any products they give you. And understand that cheap and fast sometimes means technicians doing the bulk of the work instead of the doctor you spoke to in your consultation.
Guys, for those who've had a hair transplant, I need your help. So I made a video recently. I'll tag it down below. It went viral. I was reviewing hair transplant clinics in Turkey. Now, I'm getting loads of comments. So basically, just to help the community out, if you've had a failed hair transplant, would you mind putting it in the comments where you went to? Because it doesn't have to be Turkey, by the way, but with places like Turkey, you seem to get mixed reviews. At the same clinic, some people will sing praises, whilst others will say avoid this clinic at all costs. So the reason being, you know, these are hair mills that churn through patients. You get technicians performing the work, not actual doctors. So guys, if you've had a hair transplant, it hasn't went well, put it in the comment section where you went, just to help the community. I would really appreciate it.
If you made it this far, I appreciate you watching. Let me know what you think in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for more content like this. Creators' handles are in the description box below. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.